Food inflation is skyrocketing, and the threat of severe food shortages looms closer than ever before. Shelves are emptying, prices are soaring, and supply chains are buckling under immense pressure. The time for complacency is over. This is a stark warning of the chaos that could erupt if we fail to act now. Imagine a world where basic necessities are out of reach, where hunger spreads like wildfire. This is not a distant nightmare, it's a very real possibility. Now is the time to prepare, to stock up, and to safeguard your future before it's too late. Don't wait, act today. Traveling across the states of Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, and Montana provided a glimpse into the varying degrees of food availability that many Americans might soon face. While most grocery stores had stocked shelves, I began to notice subtle trends that hint at ongoing challenges. For instance, in Sheridan, Wyoming, a relatively remote location, far from major urban centers, there were pockets of empty shelves amidst otherwise decent availability. This pattern raises questions about how supply chain issues, inflation, and other economic pressures are influencing food systems, even in areas known for agricultural production. Food inflation plays a critical role in this landscape. Rising prices, coupled with sporadic shortages, mean that securing essentials might become increasingly difficult for many families. Observations revealed that smaller and more remote communities are at greater risk since they depend heavily on consistent supply deliveries that can be disrupted by inflation, transportation issues, or labor shortages. Such factors disproportionately affect essential goods like fresh produce, grains, and dairy, creating a ripple effect on local diets and budgets. It's clear that while the situation hasn't reached a crisis point in many areas, signs of strain are becoming evident. This serves as a wake-up call to prepare now. Building a modest pantry stockpile of non-perishable foods such as canned goods, rice, and pasta can provide a safety net as these conditions evolve. Additionally, learning basic preservation methods like canning or dehydrating foods can be invaluable for creating long-term food security. By paying attention to these early warning signs and taking proactive steps, individuals can mitigate the risks associated with food inflation and potential shortages. Preparing today ensures resilience tomorrow. 2. Specific product availability. The availability of essential food items plays a critical role in understanding the impact of food inflation and shortages. Based on a recent on-the-ground observation of grocery store inventory, there are clear patterns that highlight both common shortages and areas where supply remains relatively stable. These patterns emphasize why now is the time to prepare, stock up where necessary, and develop proactive strategies to ensure food security. Flour and baking essentials. Flour is a staple in many households, and while regular bags were mostly available during this review, large bags with damaged packaging indicate wider distribution challenges. Damaged items often signal systemic issues, whether due to rushed logistics, overhandling, or processing errors as suppliers race to meet demand. If you depend on flour for baking or everyday cooking, it might be worthwhile to store extra supply while prices remain stable. For those who rely on gluten-free flour, the reality is even starker: inventory was completely wiped out. This could suggest limited production or a growing demand exceeding supply. Anyone with dietary restrictions should take prompt steps to create a buffer stock for specialty items like this. Cooking oils and sugar. Shoppers reported seeing some empty shelves in the oil and sugar aisle, though both products were still available overall. Small gaps in the supply chain for these fundamental ingredients may evolve into bigger issues as inflation drives up costs. Cooking oil, in particular, is a sensitive product that heavily relies on imported raw materials or agricultural inputs, making it subject to international disruptions. Sugar shortages might not seem immediately pressing, but they can disrupt both home baking and commercial food manufacturing. Taking steps to secure these items when attractive prices are available, or learning to ration them, could keep costs low and reduce dependence on sporadic grocery stock. Canned goods and long-term pantry items. The canned goods section presented a mixed picture. While the majority of soups remained in stock, ramen noodles were consistently sold out. This reflects prioritization behaviors among shoppers during times of economic strain, as inexpensive and easy-to-store foods, like ramen, are increasingly popular to address tight budgets. For preppers focusing on long shelf life items, monitoring the stock of your preferred canned goods and dry noodles is essential to ensure robust reserves at home. Frozen food selections. Frozen foods, often favored for convenience and longevity, showed some stress within specific categories. While stores ran out of popular frozen pizzas, other varieties remained available. This uneven pattern reinforces an essential point about adaptability. When shortages occur in one favored brand or flavor, being open to alternatives can maintain access to food staples without escalating costs or frustration. For those preparing for potential shortages, ensuring a varied mix of frozen foods in your freezer can reduce reliance on uncertain market availability. Pasta. The pasta aisle also showed signs of intermittent shortages, with some visible gaps but otherwise a reasonable stock level. These gaps could suggest localized supply chain hiccups, seasonal production limits, or higher demand from consumers stocking up. Pasta is a pantry essential with a long shelf life, making it a wise addition to any preparedness strategy. Whether it's classic spaghetti, macaroni, or specialty shapes, buying in bulk when supply is stable can help avoid future price increases or rationing limits during times of heightened demand. International foods. Mexican food products were largely available, though refried beans, an item with good versatility and shelf stability, were an exception, missing from otherwise full shelves. This aligns with the pattern seen in other long-lasting pantry items, which tend to move fastest when prices become unpredictable. If you regularly cook with international ingredients like tortillas, beans, or specialty sauces, take note of any creeping scarcity to ensure you're not caught unprepared later. Meat supply. The market for meat products, particularly frozen meats, reflected mixed availability. Frozen chicken breasts, for instance, were entirely sold out, yet prices appeared to remain steady. This could mean that while demand exceeds supply, producers have resisted raising prices drastically, perhaps due to competition or contracted agreements. However, the consistent depletion of items like chicken breasts could escalate, making it advisable to consider other protein alternatives or stock up when they're available. Diversifying your meat options, incorporating plant-based proteins, or purchasing in bulk for freezing are all strategies to mitigate supply risks and financial strain. Snacks and beverages. Snack food shortages were minor but revealing. Regular potato chips were in short supply, while other varieties of snacks and sodas were fully stocked. This may indicate a temporary fluctuation in consumer preferences or manufacturing constraints, as popular snack items tend to reflect shifting food trends and economic concerns. Moderate storage of non-perishable comfort foods can ensure morale and satisfaction even during tough times, particularly for households with children. Bread and dairy. Bread supply remained robust, an encouraging sign amidst broader concerns over wheat-dependent products like flour. However, shortages were noted in milk supply, even though most varieties were generally available. Milk is a perishable commodity, vulnerable to transportation inefficiencies or processing delays, which can ripple through the supply chain quickly. Those with high reliance on dairy should consider powdered or shelf-stable milk alternatives as a way to maintain steady access during potential shortages. Cereal and fresh produce. Cereal stock levels were notably healthy, though some fresh produce like pineapple was scarce. While cereals are processed and easier to store long-term, fresh fruit depends on seasonality, transportation, and proper handling at every stage. The absence of pineapple in stores can highlight vulnerabilities in exotic or imported goods. A balanced preparedness approach might emphasize relying on frozen or canned fruits and diversifying produce intake to protect against price surges or outright unavailability of specific fresh options. 3. Shopping strategy. One of the most crucial steps in preparing for rising food costs and potential shortages is adopting a smart and resourceful shopping strategy. With food inflation on the rise, every small savings opportunity counts, and planning ahead can make a significant difference. By using coupons effectively, you can drastically reduce the cost of staple items. For instance, purchasing bulk products like Cheerios and Lucky Charms with coupons ensures that you not only save money but also stockpile non-perishable goods that can last for extended periods. Bulk buying is especially strategic for items that your household consumes frequently, as it guards against future price hikes. Additionally, keeping an eye out for discounts on fresh produce, such as discounted pineapple, allows you to make the most of perishable goods without overspending. Creativity in meal planning can help incorporate these discounted items into your diet before they spoil. Beyond fresh items, prioritizing essential and versatile pantry staples like pasta sauce is also critical. Stocking up on discounted eggs, which are increasingly expensive in this economy, ensures you are prepared with protein-packed items that can support balanced meals even during shortages. When shopping, consider balancing long-term storage items with nutritious short-term perishables, focusing on shelf-stable products that can complement your emergency food supply. Strategies like tracking sales cycles at your local stores or downloading apps to find coupon offers can stretch your food budget further and help you stay prepared. By implementing these techniques now, you'll safeguard your family against the impacts of inflation while building a reliable reserve for uncertain times. Taking these steps to shop strategically aligns with a proactive mindset towards food security. Start preparing today to ensure you are equipped to handle both the rising costs and potential shortages that might emerge in the near future. 4 store comparisons. During my observations in Utah and Colorado, I found that store shelves were mostly stocked, contrary to the fears of widespread shortages often discussed. While there are pockets of concern regarding specific items, the majority of stores I visited seem to have an adequate supply of goods. This suggests that while challenges in the supply chain may exist, they are not necessarily resulting in an all-out crisis in these regions. It's essential to approach claims of food shortages with a critical eye and rely on first-hand evidence. Pricing remains another key consideration when preparing for potential inflationary impacts. At Winco, for example, prices were slightly lower than many other stores, but not significantly enough to represent a game-changing cost advantage. This highlights that while some stores may offer more competitive prices, the broader increase in food costs is impacting the market as a whole. Comparing prices across store chains before making large purchases is advisable for anyone aiming to stretch their budget during uncertain economic times. It's also worth noting that while the current situation seems stable in the locations I surveyed, conditions can vary widely depending on regional factors, economic pressures, and seasonality. Now is a prudent time to prepare by building up a modest stockpile of essential goods without hoarding. Balance is critical. Smart preparation includes focusing on non-perishable foods, understanding local sourcing, and maintaining awareness of pricing trends. By staying proactive and informed, you can mitigate the potential impact of inflation and any unexpected disruptions in the food supply chain. 5 general observations. During my travels across various states, I took time to observe the current state of grocery stores and their supplies. Contrary to some alarming reports of widespread shortages, I noticed that most stores appeared well stocked with essential goods, including pantry staples, fresh produce, and canned food. This is a reassuring sign, at least for now, as it indicates that supply chains are still functioning in many areas. However, it's critical to understand that this could quickly change, especially in times of uncertainty or heightened panic. A sudden surge in demand triggered by fear, often referred to as panic buying, can deplete shelves overnight, leaving many without access to necessary items. This is why I've been encouraging everyone I know to take proactive steps by gradually stockpiling essential food and household goods. Doing so ensures that you and your family will remain prepared without adding strain to the current system. Food inflation is another factor that's important to consider. While prices may still seem reasonable today, inflation could drive costs significantly higher in the coming weeks or months. This means that purchasing essentials now, while they are still relatively affordable, is a cost-effective strategy that not only cushions your budget but guarantees readiness in an uncertain environment. Ultimately, preparation is key. It's not about fear, but rather adopting a mindset of resilience and self-reliance. Don't wait for headlines to confirm a crisis. By then, it may be too late. Instead, take the time now to assess your needs, build your resources, and prepare for potential challenges ahead. These observations serve as a reminder that staying ahead of the curve and maintaining awareness are vital for navigating what could become a much more unpredictable situation.